All right, ladies and gents, today we're going to be looking at Iceman Isaac's new video that he posted on FPS Hub and just overall PC optimization in regards to Call of Duty. I figured it would be a really good one for us to go over, just kind of everything that goes into getting your PC and your hardware to run as smooth as possible, and kind of see what he has to say. FPS Hub, if you don't know what it is a service that you can pay, and basically what they'll do is they'll talk to you on Discord, they'll zoom in, and then they'll look at everything on your computer based on your hardware, and then they'll give you recommendations based on what they see what to do. So they'll help you overclock your GPU, your CPU. A lot of times they'll run like a custom config file just to optimize your graphics and get you the maximum FPS based on what you want to see happen with your computer. So anyways, Iceman Isaac, obviously a big time streamer and really focused on PC performance as well. So I figured we would watch his video and react and see what it's all about. So anyways, stay tuned. All right, guys, let's take a look here and see what this is all about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Verdansk is finally here, and these are the best settings that you need to be running inside of Warzone. These weren't rushed through. We have tested every single one of these, ran through all the variables, and I've worked with not only myself, but the entire FPS Hub PC optimization specialists. The people that guys like Huskers, Nadeshot,
it's pretty stable FPS.
In the scene, both esports and creators use to optimize their game. I have played on these for over 20 hours, have not crashed a single time, and with my 4090, I'm getting upwards of
this has to be extremely
FPS
low
in
settings.
4K, and
like he says it's grainy because it was compressed, but I bet these are super, super low settings at 1440p.
With a fully spec'd out system from FPS Hub, they're getting up to 400 FPS in 1440p with their 5090. Now, it doesn't matter what your rig is. Follow these settings step by step. I will explain what changes you need to make dependent on your system, and we're going to work through this step by step. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to jump into the settings right here, and we're going to start with graphics settings. Now, it's important not to jump around throughout this video because each one of these kind of all compile together, and there's some little creepy stuff here and there, but it will make a massive difference for your system. Now, if you don't want to do any of this and you just want someone to remote in, do it all for you, this video is sponsored by FPS Hub. Once again, they are tested and trusted by the biggest names in the community. Whether you're having issues with jitters, stutters, crashing, or you just don't want to go through all of this, the config files, etc.
Yeah, if you guys don't want to do this stuff yourself, you can totally pay a company to do this for you. I've been pretty good at doing this myself, and I ended up doing something like this with a company called Stints, which you've probably seen their stuff online. It's like Stints Built and things like that. But I remember just the feeling of being kind of underwhelmed by the whole experience afterwards and what they did. Basically, they will go in, they do the config file, which was like the main piece for me. But you can get 95% of what a config file does just by tweaking the settings in game. We'll talk more about that later because I think he's going to get into that. But it's just like a basic CPU and GPU overclock. But I guess it's more the confidence. If you don't know what you're doing and you want somebody to tell you like, hey, like your system's running optimally, like that's where it's at.
Even if you follow this video step by step, there's still going to be things that are specific to your PC. Going into the BIOS and messing with your RAM settings, your CPU timings, your GPU timings,
your
GPU clocks and voltages. They're going to get your system not only running fast, but they're going to get it running safe. My temperatures have gone down on my CPU and GPU, but my performance has gone up. There's so much intricacy, especially with all these different systems getting dropped and all these different GPU, CPU combinations. They do it for a living. They are the best in the business. And even people who are partnered with other people behind closed doors are going to the team at FPS Hub because they come in clutch every time. So if you run through these settings, and they will treat you 80% of the way there. If you want the most out of the system that you spent your hard-earned money on, go to the link down in the pinned comment and the description and check out the team at FPS Hub to get the most out of your system. You can use code Isaac
okay, let's get to the settings here.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to run through all these settings. These is not only going to make your game look beautiful, but we're not going to set everything to very low. Your game's going to run fast, but I don't want your game looking like crap, okay? So full screen exclusive, you want to be running this game inside of full screen exclusive. I'm using a PG32 UCDM. It is a 4K 240 hertz OLED monitor.
If you don't want to run in full screen exclusive, you don't have to. Technically, I think you'll get a few more FPS. Make sure if you are on a dual PC setup and you're streaming, full screen exclusive all the way. But if you're just on a single PC setup, I don't think that the performance difference between exclusive and borderless is really that big of a deal. And running full screen borderless is so much easier when you need to tab out and do something. Yeah, I don't know. Mine always glitches when it's exclusive and you tab out, like takes a second and freezes, which I don't like. So don't be afraid to run borderless if you're not streaming.
From Asus. I have a 4090, screen refresh rate is set to 240, and I have my 4K resolution set. Restart shaders preloading is something that I suggest you doing after we go through all these settings. I've felt like my system runs better.
Anytime you make graphic settings,
I apply them. I then
hit
restart my shaders preloading,
and then
close my
restart
app,
your PC,
reopen my app.
restart
I'll
your
remind you
game.
to do that here in a second, but it does help out for me.
That makes a difference.
I feel like it makes my game run smoother. Anytime you're getting really bad hitches and stuff, it's not a bad idea to restart shaders preloading, close your app, and restart it.
Agreed.
For game and brightness, I have mine set to 55. That'll help bring up some of the shadows and the Terminator skins. Now, a big one here.
On brightness, it's totally, I mean, he set his to 55, but that's totally going to depend on what monitor you have. It's going to be completely different between mine and yours and his. So just whatever feels comfortable for you.
NVIDIA Reflex low latency on or on plus boost. You definitely want it on. What you can do to figure out whether you want it on or on plus boost, honestly, it doesn't hurt to have it on plus boost. Mine is basically going to be on plus boost all the time, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so you'll see here right below my screen, it says low latency mode is enabled in optimizing system latency, or on plus boost. Low latency mode is now enabled, optimizing system latency. Additionally, GPU clock frequencies are kept high in CPU bound cases. This can reduce latency, but will increase GPU power draw. Basically, what happens if you are CPU bound, meaning that your CPU is the one that's struggling to render a frame and your GPU is just kind of sitting there waiting, that GPU might start to clock down to save some energy. But that means the second we need the GPU,
gamers don't care about power draw,
render lag and some render spikes. So by putting on plus boost, it keeps your system revved up and ready to go. Okay, how do I determine whether or not I am GPU bound or CPU bound? Real quick, we're gonna jump over to interface, apply any of the settings that you put on already. We're gonna go to our telemetry, we're gonna put custom, and we're gonna turn on FPS counter, server latency, packet loss, and most importantly for this, GPU time and CPU time. From there, you're gonna load into a game of Plunder, load into a game of Warzone, and when you look up at the top of your screen, you're gonna see your GPU times and your CPU times up at the top. Whichever one is greater, let's say it's 6 milliseconds compared to 4 milliseconds, the one that is greater, that longer time to render, that is the one that is limiting your system. Do not do it here in the main menu. You have to go into the actual area that we're trying to.
Super easy way to check it is doing what he's talking about right here. If you guys have MSI Afterburner or you're on an NVIDIA card and you want to run the NVIDIA frame view, it'll actually show you your GPU utilization, and you can see if you're 95 to 100%, you're in a really good spot with your CPU and your GPU combo.
Render, which is Verdansk. So depending on whether or not you were GPU bound or CPU bound, remember that. And if you are CPU bound, absolutely on plus boost. GPU bound, you can have on or on plus boost, but make sure if you are CPU bound, you have on plus boost. Okay, I am GPU bound because I game in 4K and I don't have a 5090 yet. I will have one soon. But right now, double check. GPU bound, on, CPU bound, on plus boost. Eco mode preset, we have set to custom. VSync, we have off custom frame rate limit. I have mine set to unlimited. Some people have found great success with setting it to custom and taking your monitor refresh rate and subtracting 3. So give it a try, see which one of you like better. Some people have tried out on multiple games, not just Warzone, but it basically prevents some overworking and some spiking with your performance, where if you put your monitor refresh rate, so minus 240 hertz, minus 3, it can cause your game to run smoother. Right now, I've been having good luck with my game running smooth on unlimited, but it's something to try. Try your monitor refresh rate minus 3 and see which one feels better for you. I have my menu resolution set to max because I want it to look good for you guys while I'm recording. Pause game rendering is off. Reduce quality while inactive, I've set to 10 minutes. Focus mode is 0. We do not use HDR. Let's go ahead and jump on over to quality. For quality, don't use any of their graphic presets. Dynamic resolution we have off. Render res I have.
He says don't use any of their graphic presets. I think they're not that bad. I mean, if you want to get into the weeds, which is obviously what he's doing here, you can get things dialed in exactly how you want them, which we might do a video running his settings that he goes through here and the config file versus what I run and just seeing how big of a difference there actually is. But I think the game looks fine on basic with variable rate shading on. But yeah, you can obviously dial it in if you want to.
If set to 100, you can change that and bring it down if you are super GPU bound, but I would suggest keeping it at 100 for now. Upscaling and sharpening, I have Fidelity FX CAS set and Fidelity FX CAS set to 90. DLSS frame generation.
I have mine set at 70, so I've never tried. That's just the default setting at 70. I've never tried 90. I wonder if that looks better or worse.
Do not turn this on. Okay, it's getting better. It's continually getting better, but at the end of the day, it does add a small amount of render latency as it's using that AI to generate those frames. Is it
Agreed.
a lot?
Don't use DLSS
No,
if you can afford
but
not to.
with how punishing and how fast the time to kill is in Warzone. In competitive FPS, even though this isn't an esport, it's still a competitive FPS. When gunfights come down to milliseconds, you don't really want that extra little bit of render delay. Now, if you're really struggling, you're only maybe getting like 60 FPS or 80 FPS and you want to feel the full power of your 144 hertz monitor or something, you can consider it. Just know there is going to be a little bit of a delay. Now, that is not the same as DLSS upscaling and sharpening. That is frame generation, and it absolutely will add a delay. Small, but for me, if you're trying to make the most out of every gunfight and the time to kill is already so forgiving, turn it to off. AMD frame generation, turn off. VRAM target scale, I have set up to 90. If you're getting jitters and hitches, you can try bringing that down to 80 or 70, but there's some other things we can look in here as well. Variable rate shading, absolutely turn on. One of the most important settings for higher frame rate inside of.
This is one of the most common, this is one of the most common comments I get on YouTube is variable rate shading. Whether it's a person saying, ew, variable rate shading, the game looks like crap, or it's somebody who says, I have the same hardware and I'm not getting the same FPS, it's usually this setting more often than not. So I think the game looks fine enough with VRS on, but that's totally up to you. That's the great thing about, PC gaming is you can choose what settings you like and what settings you don't like, and you can run it totally personalized to you, which is awesome. But I'm a huge proponent of having variable rate shading on. And we might do another video just showing the difference between having it on and having it off and what that looks like.
Warzone. This is not variable refresh rate. This is variable rate shading. Absolutely turn it on. Texture resolution, I have mine set to normal. You can set it all the way down to very low, but it causes some of the trees to look like Play-Doh. And for me, it's one of the settings that I'm willing to take a little bit of an FPS loss for a much more beautiful experience. Texture filter anisotropic is turned to low. This is actually one of those that you could bring up to high and it doesn't affect your FPS that much. Depth of field we have turned off. Detail quality for me, I have set to normal because I like the guns and some of the textures to look better. You can have that set to low. There are a lot of these I'm going to say, hey, set to low, very low, absolutely not. A few of these are kind of based on your perspective, right? I will tell you my suggested. If you really want to get the max out of your system, you can try turning them to all low, but it's going to look a little rough. So normal here, you can go very low. Normal heal, you can go low. Particle, stay very low. It torches your FPS. Bullet impacts, I have mine on because that's how I test my recoil plots. Persistent effects off. Shader quality is set to low. On-demand texture streaming is set to minimal. Local texture streaming quality is set to low as well. Shadow quality, I have mine set to normal. Very low looks horrible. Very pixelated, very jaggedy. You have textures popping in and out, or shadows popping in and out. For me, it's one of those that pulls my immersion out of the game, so I have my shadow quality set to normal. Everything else, as we move down, off, low, off, low, off. You
know what they should do? They should let you make a preset like this. Like put all the custom settings how you want and then save your own custom graphics preset. That way, if NVIDIA app accidentally updates your game and changes your settings, you can quickly go in and just click your custom setting rather than having to pull up this video and rewatch it and put everything on the way you want it.
Really does impact the beauty and the atmospherics of the game, and I may release a video of playing this game in 4K ultra settings, but none of this stuff really pulls out my immersion. Shadow quality, texture resolution, and detail quality does kind of pull me out of my immersion, and that's why I set those. The rest of them we can bring to all the way to low. View, don't turn on this motion reduction preset. We're gonna change all of these manually. Field of view is set to 120. ADS field of view is set to affected. Weapon field of view is set to wide. It makes your gun smaller in your screen, so that way the gun doesn't take up as much of your eyesight. Vehicle view, field of view, we have set to wide. The motion blur is off, least. Third person ADS and inverted flashbang is set to off. If you don't like your screen flashing white and you want it to flash black instead, you can have that. For me, when my screen flashes black, it reminds me of all the times that I would dev error, and that kind of gives me trauma. Okay, now, important note here. Okay, do not just skip over and think we're done with the graphics settings, okay? What we're gonna do, as we mentioned earlier, now that we've applied all of that, we're gonna go to our graphics settings, we're gonna go to display,
restart the shaders.
Go to restart shaders preloading. We're gonna hit restart, and then we're gonna close our app. We're gonna start our app back up and let those shaders recompile. And once those shaders have recompiled, now we're gonna get into some very important settings here over on your desktop. Okay, so we're gonna get into our desktop and we're gonna start messing with some settings here that have extreme performance implications. So for starters, you're gonna right click, go to show more options and click display settings. Then you're gonna right click, go to show more options and go to NVIDIA control panel. Now, when you click on your monitor and you scroll down here, you can see, okay, I have my display rate set, I have my resolution set. We're gonna go to advanced display. Once you go to see your monitor, I have my PG32 UCDM. That is my main gaming monitor.
He's flexing that monitor
to make sure
it's
everything
awesome
is saying what I think it should say, what
he's letting you know
for.
he's got it.
I have a 4K monitor operating at 240 hertz. Sometimes you can't select the refresh rate that you think you should have here. And what you can do is you can go into your NVIDIA control panel, go to change resolution, and then oftentimes you can't select your full resolution up here. You have to scroll down to where it says PC, and you can see now you can select your full refresh rate. Make sure you select the gaming monitor that you're currently using. Okay, on top of that, there's some things you can do. If you want a little bit more pop of color into your game, you can go in and
you can go
add
digital vibrance. Yep.
Just keep in mind that's going to cross
I set mine to like
all
60%.
Of your games. It's not going to affect any of your performance. Digital vibrance does not hurt your performance. It looks almost
washed out when you have it at 50.
But it will make everything on your desktop, every app that you use, every photo that you look on Facebook, everything will have that digital vibrance. So it's just something to keep in mind when you do make that change. Some other settings that we're going to be changing. Okay, we're going to go into our manage 3D settings, and you're going to follow me through one by one on all of these. I'm adjusting these globally because this is generally good things that you can change for every single game that you have. So follow with me. Image sharpening.
Now, this is something I don't do a ton of in the NVIDIA settings. So this is something pretty cool that even I could learn something from. I think the only one I do on, I think I go, it's either like power mode or something. I go max performance. So we'll see if that comes up.
Off. Ambient occlusion, off. Anisotropic filtering, off. Anti-aliasing, all of them we're gonna have off. Obviously, you can change them in the individual program itself. Background application max frame rate off. CUDA GPU cores, all CUDA system fallback. Driver default, low latency mode is on. Max frame rate off. Monitor technology, fixed refresh. MFAA off. OpenGL GDI, auto. We are using the GPU that you have. Make sure it's not selecting like your
that's on power management mode.
Your CPU as the GPU, the onboard graphics. I'm drawing a blank on the name there. The preferred refresh rate is application controlled. Shader cache height is driver default. Texture filtering anisotropic. Texture filtering negative LOD bias allow. Texture filtering quality high performance. Texture filtering trilinear optimization on. Threaded optimization on. Triple buffering off. Vertical sync use 3D application. Virtually rendered virtual reality.
That's an important one. So VSync, especially if you are running an unlimited frame rate and you're exceeding your monitor's refresh rate, having it on 3D application setting means you can turn it off in Call of Duty or in the game. And you have VSync off because a lot of times you'll exceed that monitor refresh rate and you don't want it to start getting weird with VSync or limiting your FPS.
Pre-rendered frames 1, virtual reality off, and Vulkan OpenGL auto. Anything that you change there, you're gonna go ahead and apply. And if you haven't already, you're gonna want to ahead and go through and update your drivers. So all you need to do is go into Google and type in, for me, these are the drivers that I used throughout all of Verdansk. I've played over 20 hours of Verdansk, haven't crashed a single time. And this is the driver that the FPSHub team recommends. It is 572.83. Type that into Google, download the 572.83 drivers. And when you install them, you can hit custom and just do a clean install and just basically make sure everything is a clean install. You don't need to install like the NVIDIA GeForce experience. Just install the drivers. That's all you need.
Speaking of that, there is some problems, and Hardware Unboxed did a video on it with the NVIDIA app and their overlays. It can actually really damage your performance. So if you're not getting the same performance that you see in one of my videos, or just what you think you should be getting, and you have those overlays enabled, you can go into the app and disable those, and then hopefully that'll fix your problem.
We don't need any more crap on our on our system. Although they did actually recently clean up NVIDIA GeForce experience. That being said, talking about looking clean, make sure you pick up some IceManIsaac merch. Limited time availability. We have the Loadout t-shirt. We have the Helicopter Tours t-shirt outside of Academy Superstore. We have the Academy Airlines outside of Verdansk Airport hangars. If you're a little bit more minimal, you want an embroidered t-shirt. If you want to support the channel and you want to support me and you want to rock some dope merch, you can check that out. Okay, so we've applied all that. We've messed with our NVIDIA control panel settings. That's all set. We've updated our drivers. We've reset our PC as necessary. Now let's get into the Windows settings. So for the Windows settings, what we're going to do is we're going to type in the word game. Okay, and we're going to look for where it says turn on game mode. We're going to have game mode on, and we're going to have game bar off. I don't have the option for game bar because FPSHub helped me install kind of like a stripped down version of Windows that got rid of a lot of bloatware and other crap that goes on in the Windows systems. My system is still safe and runs and does everything that I needed to do, but it just gets rid of all the crapware that.
If you ever want to get rid of a application or something like that that's in Windows permanently, you can actually find command prompts and pull up the command prompt and type in a command that will delete it permanently. So if you want to set a power mode permanently and get rid of balance or something like that, you can actually do that in command prompts. That's what he's talking about here.
That's in the back end of your system that's running while you're trying to game. And I gained like an additional 20 FPS and 4K when I went over to this. So the guys over at FPSHub can help you out. Once again, pinned comment and description. So game mode on, game bar off, and then we're going to go in and we're going to type graphics.
I'm pretty sure that they fixed it, but if you're on a 9950X3D or 7950X3D, they used to have game bar schedule for you. So you need game bar for that CPU to function properly. So keep that in mind if you're getting rid of game bar.
For graphics, you're going to type graphic settings, go to change default graphic settings, and we're going to have hardware accelerated GPU scheduling on, and we're going to have variable refresh rate off. All right. So that is all that it comes to the Windows settings. Now let's get into, oh, actually one more thing for Windows settings that's actually really important. Type in the word power. You're going to go to choose power plan. And for pretty much everybody, you're going to put the max performance. Okay, you're going to put max performance, highest performance, whatever it is. For a few people, specifically for the most recent AMD CPUs, and I'll have it all up on the screen right now. Your 9800X3Ds, your 7800X3Ds, your 9950Xs, etc. You're going to want to operate in the balanced.
But if you're on Intel and you're on a 14900K, 13900K, anything like that, you want to make sure you're on max performance
power plan, because that's what works best for AMD CPUs. Now, from there, we're going to go ahead and open up our documents. We're going to go into documents, Call of Duty.
All right, so this is config files.
And then the Warzone document is the TXT0. Now make sure these files are not set to read only, because if they are set to read only, basically what will end up happening is whenever you make a change to your setting in game, let's say you change your controller sensitivity, once you close out your Call of Duty app and then you reopen it, this will overwrite it and it will make it to where all the settings that you changed, all the keybinds that you changed did not save. So we're going to change these settings. We're going to save this document, but do not have it set to read only. So let's go ahead and open it up. So we're going to open up txt.0. You can just use something like Notepad to open it up. And then we have a few things that we're going to change. So what you need to do is you need to go in, you need to type Control F. And the first thing we're going to type in is the word corpse. For corpse, maximum number of AI corpses, we're going to go in here and we're going to type 0. From there, we're going to type in the word blood. And it says limit blood effects. We're going to type true there. Basically, we don't have too many blood effects stacking on top of each other, which one hurts our visibility.
So what this does, basically, in a sense, guys, is it just puts less things in the game. The biggest difference when we were on Al Mazrah was just the render distance of your enemies and things like trees and stuff like that. You could actually go in there and set a custom setting on how far they would render. So if you like 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, you could change that. Obviously, it's going to hurt your immersion a little bit, but it's definitely going to boost your frame rate.
And our performance. Go right down below it. When limiting blood effects, number of milliseconds between effects, we're going to type in 2000. That gives the most amount of time between the effects, which limits obviously how much those are going to stack. You can keep going down even further and show blood effects. Totally up to you. If you want blood effects on, like if you're shooting a body and you want to see the blood come out, you can have that set to true. If you want, you can also set that to false to prevent blood effects from being shown. Now, I have heard some reports of people having blood effects set to false, and with this most recent update, it's still showing them. Sometimes this happens with config file changes, and once again, changing config files is something that's been done like for decades across all FPS, and it's well known within the COD scene, commonly practiced within the COD scene. Yep. No issues with doing this. It's basically like an advanced graphic settings to help your game run as smooth as possible.
Yep.
You can have show blood effects set to false. Also, make sure you have blood and gore in the game settings set to false as well, and that should prevent the blood spattering, which not only could potentially mess with your visibility, but also could mess with your performance as well. We'll go down right below that to brass and set weapon eject brass set to false. That's when you're firing, the ejections of the brass aren't going to cover your screen, one, and more importantly, mess with your performance. From there, we're going to type in the word probe. Probe, reflection, probe, reflection probe, relighting update stages. We're going to go ahead and set that to 1. And then from there, we're going to type in the word clip map, one word, static sun shadow moment clip map resolution, have that set to 0. Now, a really big one next up is type in the word renderer. So with the word renderer, it'll take us to thread count for handling the job queue, renderer worker count.
7 seems to be a sweet spot.
Are going to have to figure it out based off of the giant grid that I have behind me right here, based on the CPU that you're using. And you might have to look up the information if you're not sure. If you have Intel, it's going to be your total number of P cores or performance cores minus 1. AMD with 2 CCDs, you're going to take half your total cores. And if AMD with a single CCD, you're going to take your total number of cores minus 1. So for me, I have a 9800X3D. So I have 8 cores. So I'm going to take 8 minus 1, and that brings me to 7. And then finally, we're going to go over to keeps. It's a very important one. This all goes back to the conversation we had earlier. If you are GPU limited, like I am because I'm gaming in 4K and my GPU time is higher or longer than my CPU time, you're going to set true. If you are CPU bound, you're going to set this to false. Some more advanced stuff and some different variables between, if you're a close call on whether you're CPU or GPU bound. Once again, guys over at FPSHub can help you out, but that is a general rule that has netted a lot of performance for people inside of Warzone, especially in the Black Ops 6 engine, both on Urzikstan and Verdansk. Now, all you need to do is go to the top, press.
This game is so CPU sensitive, you're most likely going to be CPU bound in most scenarios.
File, save, and before you do that, exit out, go Control A, Control C, or select all, and copy. And now we can exit out of that, and we just edited the txt0 file. Now we can go into the txt1 file,
paste it in,
copy over that, and you'll see it's got the same amount of characters, 18163 for me, 18163 for the other one. And basically these are the multiplayer and the Warzone, and I think the campaign as well, they all share some. And so if you copy these settings to where they're the same across the entire board, it will make it to where sometimes they won't override each other or the game won't feel different as you head from multiplayer.
What you can do here too is you can save an additional one and just title it something different. Like instead of having it say, COD 2.4, you can just put COD 2.4 and then the word copy. And so you'll know after updates and stuff like that, if it gets changed, you always have your custom config file saved on the side. And you can just paste it right back in and it'll be right back where you need to be.
To Warzone. So go ahead and save both. Now that the settings are all the same, exit out and you're done. All right, now we're back into some of the in-game settings, but there are also going to be things here that will affect your visibility. So make sure to hang around because some of the things in the interface settings might affect the way your game looks as well. So starting off though with the audio settings, we have gameplay music volume set to 0, dialogue volume set to 50%. That way it's not so loud when the announcer's yapping in your ear. Effects volume.
So I think that's pretty much it for what he had to say on graphics. I'm going to do some testing and kind of run his settings versus what I run with just the basic preset. Which is way easier, obviously, to put into play. But this should be pretty simple for you guys to follow if you want to get a little bit more dialed in on what you like and, make sure you're getting the maximum FPS. So pretty cool stuff. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about, and he's partnering with a company that specializes in it, FPSHub. So, yeah, pretty awesome video. I don't really disagree with anything he has to say. I think if you follow this guide, you're going to be in a really good spot. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this video helped. If you hadn't already seen his video and this is the first time you're seeing all the settings, let me know down in the comments. Are you going to run something like this, or are you just going to stick with one of the presets and ignore the config file and everything else? So anyways, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you like the video and make sure you get subscribed. I'm going to do a video where I compare the settings that he does to just a basic preset and kind of see how big the gap is, whether you're running a custom config file or not. So anyways, stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.